Michael Jackson's Moonwalker is like a mosquito stuck in crystallized amber. This 16-bit artifact captures the sliver of time between Jackson's pop ascendancy during the Thriller era and his tortuous downfall fueled by vanity and dark allegations. As such, it's nearly impossible to look back on his Genesis game completely severed from all of the horrible things we've heard about Jackson in recent years. What keeps this from being a complete exercise in futility is the almost relief felt when realizing this is one of the blandest action platformers of the generation, saved from wholesale badness by strange sparkles of Jackson's kooky cool. Because the game itself is banal, drubbing the game no longer feels like adding one more corgi to the dog pile. Moonwalker catches up to Michael Jackson in full, smooth criminal regalia. He's a snap-brimmed hero pushing through a juke joint full of Mr. Big's suited-up thugs and kidnapped children. Jackson must push back against this army of hooligans with his superior moves, such as a kick that's rooted in Jackson's own choreography. In what is surely an unintentional joke, our hero, quite literally, has twinkle toes. When Jackson kicks, magic stars float from his feet to take down enemies within the extended range. Jackson's entire offensive is based on his dancing. When he jumps over pinball tables or on top of cars, his legs curl under him and his finger goes into the air. He can spin in place to charge his magic and then let loose with a hat attack that zips across the screen and knocks over incoming foes. Or he can go critical and inspire all of the on-screen thugs to join in his intoxicating dance set. Then there's the moonwalking, Jackson's Velvet Triumph, a move used to scoot away from a successful attack and can be capped off with an emphatic crotch grab. It's just bizarre. And for a few minutes, the strangeness of Moonwalker is entertaining. How else will Jackson use his dancing to save the children? But this Z-movie, so bad it's good, charm is fleeting. Moonwalker is a lazily produced game. The stages are entirely monotonous, dressed up with repeating backdrops. Even worse, the enemies are paint-by-number thugs with zero personality and the same tailor. With only the occasional palette switch, every level has just one or two enemy types that are on an endless loop, like a drum track in a Rockwell song. Compound this with the single line of AI code that drives each and every one, run left/right and collide with Jackson. Dealing with these morons while searching doors and windows for missing kids across a dozen stages is woefully dull. Because you cannot fight the stage boss, which is typically just one or more of the stage's parade of repetitive thugs or zombies, until you find a set number of kids, you spend a lot of time backtracking around a level fighting the same enemies over and over. When you do manage to find the final little girl, though, Moonwalker employs another dose of weird. Bubbles flies in on a star, lands on Jackson's shoulders, and then points the way to the boss encounter. Finding the boss is not a Herculean task, though. You just sorta walk into it. The presence of Bubbles in the game can only be explained then as something Jackson himself must have insisted upon. Oh, and if Bubbles and Jackson playing Master Blaster isn't kooky enough for you, there is this an absolute mind scrambler hidden in the game. It's a holdover from the vastly superior arcade version of Moonwalker. If you rescue a specific child in the right order, Jackson turns into a robot. He can then shoot lasers out of his eyes. Again, crazy. The one upside of Moonwalker, however, is the music. Even though it's pure MIDI and on a constant loop, Jackson's songs are quite good. Smooth Criminal is indeed the highlight here, but the library of beep-boop songs, such as Billie Jean, are still reminders that no matter what you think of Jackson himself, he remains an incredible musician and performer. Of all the licensed games I've done up to this point, Moonwalker is by far the longest of long shots for a modern re-release. Sega can't even get the estate of Michael Jackson to come to the table over Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack. I thought maybe there was residual post-mortem bad blood, since Jackson apparently wasn't happy with how his arrangements for Sonic 3 sounded on the Genesis. But that obviously isn't the hold-up. Jackson later voiced himself in the Space Channel 5 franchise, so clearly no bridges were burned. The real question is, how much could his estate possibly want for chiptunes? It's not like this is a previously unreleased Beatles track we're talking about. It's a series of harmonious bloops and bleeps that sound sort of like his famous songs. If anything, people hearing them might be inclined to spend money on the real songs. The arrangements featured in the video games have zero value to the estate. Again, we're talking about bloops and bleeps here. Good bloops and bleeps, mind you. My mother, a fan of Jackson's work, could identify what each song was supposed to be in the arcade and Genesis versions. But that also means they're good enough to assure Moonwalker will likely never see the light of day again. The closest we came to a re-release was in 2011, when Sega submitted a version of Moonwalker for PEGI rating on the Wii's Virtual Console, but nothing came of it. It's unclear which version, but I'm guessing the Genesis one. Presumably it was done by mistake. It happens. No matter what you think of Michael Jackson, this much is clear: he loved video games and was proud of his work with Sega. It's not like the games paint him in a bad light, and it's also not like someone would buy this in lieu of a CD. Nobody on this planet is going to say, well, I was going to buy a collection of Michael Jackson songs, but I bought this video game that has electronic beeps arranged in a way that sounds kind of like his songs, so I'm covered. Can we please do the right thing here and come to the table like grown-ups? Because these games are worth a look today, in 2023. Especially the arcade version. On with the reviews. I played the arcade version of Moonwalker after playing the two console versions, but chronologically, this was released first. And now, I'm wondering if the more bland and basic Genesis/Master System versions soiled the reputation of the coin-op. Seriously, why does Moonwalker never come up in conversations about the best licensed arcaders? This is great. I don't even normally like isometric games. In fact, I kind of hate them. I always get discombobulated trying to walk in a straight line when I play them, and that's not even the most annoying aspect of the game. Moonwalker features this strange pseudo-auto-scrolling gameplay that makes it feel like you're getting the bums rush through the set pieces. But, actually, it's about 30 to 40 minutes of perfectly paced non-stop action. It's probably best to think of Moonwalker as a close cousin to Altered Beast. The same type of slow-scrolling, horde-smacking fisticuffs, only played from a different angle, with only one button for all striking moves. Gosh, that actually sounds like my idea of the fourth circle of hell. So, you can imagine my surprise that the smile never vanished from my face during my first session with Moonwalker. Part of that is that the enemies aren't completely brainless. There's a fairly nice variety of them to smash, and you're always given enough room to dodge out of the way of their shockingly elegant attack formations. You can also charge up your attack, though this was the one weakness of the game's combat. It's too hard to aim the charged-up shots if you move around before unleashing them. In general, you'll spend most of the time blasting enemies with energy directly with your hand. Most baddies only take 2 hits to kill, and the levels go by quickly. 1 or 2 of the robots were a bit spongy, but not in a deal-breaker sort of way. I know what you're thinking. Where the heck is she getting an Altered Beast comparison out of that? It's because you transform near the end of each stage. For you children of the 2000s, Michael Jackson famously had a chimpanzee named Bubbles that he took everywhere he went. Bubbles shows up where you're next to the boss for each area. Touching him transforms you into Mecha Jackson. Imagine a Godzilla roar here for full effect. At this point, you get projectiles and your charged shot becomes a pair of missiles. This is where the run-and-gun gameplay takes over, though the run part is misleading, since you still move around the screen at the same pace, and usually there's not too many basic enemies to wax before you encounter the boss. As much as I enjoyed the shooting combat, the bosses are the game's weak link. They're generic robotic contraptions that feel like they belong to another game. Not boring to fight, mind you. But they often feel out of place with the set pieces. You cannot take anything away from Jackson's musical and performance legacy, but this bit of vanity simply falls apart due to pure laziness. The dance moves are a hoot at the beginning, as are the first few sights of the game's weirdness, But then the whole thing collapses into banality. Everything is stuck on repeat. You may want to rescue this one from a garage sale for the quirk factor, but it will not spend much time in your Genesis. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a like. It's a quick and simple way to show support. Share this video with friends, family, or anyone you think might be interested. Your help with publicity is essential for the growth of the channel. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. Click the bell to receive notifications whenever we post something cool. I really appreciate your presence here. Your support makes all the difference. Continue following, sharing, and leaving your comments. We are building an amazing community together. See you in the next video.